You cannot wait for your life to change. You must become the catalyst that changes your life. How long will you wait? How long will you wait for someone to fix what you were born to transform? Some people spend their entire lives wishing, hoping, waiting. But let me ask you something real. What if the change you're waiting for is actually waiting on you? The moment you decide that your thoughts have power, that your energy matters, that your intention creates your reality, that's the moment the shift begins. Because you are not here to be a passive observer. You are here to be the architect of your destiny. Change doesn't come from the outside in. It begins from the inside out. You wake up in the morning and your first thoughts are already shaped by yesterday. The same worries, the same regrets, the same limitations. You rehearse them like a script written long before you realized you had the power to choose a new one. And so what happens? You think the same thoughts, you feel the same emotions, you make the same choices, and you produce the same experiences. Your body is living in the past and your mind is chained to it. That's not just habit. That's biology. That's a subconscious program running your life while you believe you're in control. But what if you really knew that every thought you think sends a signal into the field? What if you accepted that you are not just a physical being moving through space, but a quantum being interacting with a field of infinite potential? That changes everything, because then you're no longer a victim of your environment. You become a creator of your reality. Your thoughts are electric, your emotions are magnetic. Together, they broadcast a signature, a frequency that the quantum field reads. It listens, it mirrors. So if your thoughts are full of lack, fear, and doubt, you are emitting a signal of lack, fear, and doubt. And the field, they're being non-judgmental, being purely responsive, gives you more of the same. You experience more lack, more fear, more reasons to doubt. Not because life is against you, but because life is responding to you. Most people don't realize this, so they wait. They wait for their finances to improve to feel abundant. They wait for love to arrive before they feel worthy. They wait for health to be restored before they feel grateful. But that's the old model of reality, the Newtonian model that says cause and effect rule everything. But you're not here to live by cause and effect. You're here to live by causing an effect. And that means you must think greater than your environment, greater than your body, and greater than time itself. When you begin to think new thoughts, truly new, elevated thoughts, you interrupt the old neural circuitry. You prune away the synaptic connections that keep you tethered to the past. And with consistency, with intention, you forge new ones. You wire your brain to match your desired future, not your remembered past. And your brain begins to look like the future you've imagined. It becomes a map, a model, a mirror of what's to come. But it's not enough to just think it. You have to feel it. Because thought without emotion is like a message that never leaves your body. But when you think a thought there, and it's aligned with a heartfelt emotion, one that matches the frequency of your future, you become a living magnet for that reality. You're no longer hoping or wishing, you're being. Imagine this, you want freedom. So you begin thinking thoughts of possibility, expansion, creativity. There, you no longer indulge in limitation. You stop telling stories of why you can't. Instead, you tell stories of what is possible. You speak from the future. You feel gratitude, not for what's happened, but for what's already unfolding in the field. And your body, your nervous system, your hormones, they all begin to believe. They begin to memorize the future. This isn't imagination. It's biological transformation. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a deeply imagined event and one that's actually happened. So when you rehearse your future, when you think the thoughts and feel the emotions, you condition your body to believe it's already living that future. And once your body believes, you're no longer in opposition to your creation. You're aligned with it. This is the moment change begins, not when the bank account fills, not when the diagnosis clears, not when the person walks through the door. No, it begins when you realize that your mind is the instrument that shapes matter. Your consciousness, your awareness, your focus, these are the tools of a creator. And when you use them intentionally, you no longer need to wait for something outside of you to change how you feel inside. You become empowered. You rise above the program. You become uncommon. The truth is, the future is not something that happens to you. It's something you generate. And the signal you send into the quantum field through thought and emotion is the blueprint. Every time you repeat that new signal, every time you mentally and emotionally rehearse your desired future, you solidify the architecture of that reality. And the field responds, not because you're lucky, not because you begged hard enough, but because you became it. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, you're already feeling the emotions of yesterday: stress, anxiety, guilt, the resentment. You're not even fully conscious, and yet your body is already in survival. Why? Because the body has become the mind. It remembers what you've been through, and it anticipates more of the same. So it initiates the same hormonal responses, the same emotional patterns. They're the same chemical cocktails that prepare you to face a world you no longer believe you can influence. This is not conscious living. This is unconscious memorization. Most people don't realize that emotions are records of the past. They are stored chemical signatures tied to events, traumas, interactions, and patterns. And the body doesn't just remember those emotions, it relives them. You have a thought. The thought triggers an emotion. The emotion validates the thought, and the cycle continues. Over time, you begin to identify with those emotions. I am anxious. I am depressed. I am broken. But those are not who you are. Those are emotional states you've practiced so often that you've hardwired them into your personality. And here's the challenge. If you keep feeling the same emotions, thinking the same thoughts, and behaving the same way, you're conditioning your body to live in the past. Even if you consciously want a new life, your body is addicted to the emotions of your old life. You might say, I want love, but you've spent decades practicing fear. You might say, I want abundance, but your body has memorized lack. So no matter what your mind wants, your body is driving the bus. It has become the subconscious program. You see, every time you revisit those familiar emotions, anger, shame, hopelessness, you're reaffirming your past. And as long as you do that, you're not creating anything new. You're simply reinforcing the known. And the known by its nature has no room for change. The unknown is we're all transformation lives. But to step into the unknown, there, you have to leave behind the emotional identity you've spent a lifetime constructing. Now, this isn't about ignoring your feelings. This is about not allowing your emotions to define your future. You can acknowledge pain without becoming it. You can witness fear without obeying it. The key is learning to observe the emotion without becoming the emotion, because the moment you become conscious of your unconscious state, you've taken a step toward freedom. Awareness is the first step toward change. The body doesn't give up its addictions easily. Emotions like anger or anxiety aren't just psychological, they're chemical. Your cells are literally swimming in the neurochemicals of those emotional states. And like any addiction, they'll crave the familiar fix. So when you decide to stop living by those emotions, your body will protest. It will try to pull you back. You'll hear voices like, this is too hard. Nothing's changing. I'm not ready. But those aren't your truth. That's your past trying to survive. But here's what happens when you persist. The body begins to recalibrate. When you stop feeding it the same emotional fuel, it starts to shift. The cravings weaken. The program loses its grip. And in that space, you begin to feel something new. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's just silence. But that space, that unfamiliar territory is where your future lies. Now think about this. If you were to generate an elevated emotion, let's say gratitude, not because of something that's happened, but simply because you choose to feel it there, you would be signaling to your body that a new future is already in motion. Why gratitude? Because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. When you're grateful, you're telling the universe it's already done. You're no longer waiting for an event to feel good. You're feeling good because you believe the event is already on its way. That's not wishful thinking. That's alignment. When you do this repeatedly, when you cultivate elevated emotions like love, joy, inspiration, compassion, you're teaching your body to experience a new state of being. You're entraining your nervous system to a new baseline, and over time, the emotional signature of your past weakens, and the energy of your future becomes stronger, your heart begins to open, your brain becomes more coherent, your field becomes more magnetic. There, and life responds not because you forced it to, but because you changed your energy. The truth is your outer world is a reflection of your inner world if you're living in survival emotionally. Constantly stressed, reactive, defensive, your perception narrows. You see through the lens of limitation, your body becomes prepared for threat, not creation. And in that state, you're not accessing the higher centers of your brain. You're not tapping into possibility. You're not creating, you're surviving. And survival is based on fear. But when you shift into elevated emotions, you enter a different state of consciousness. You activate different neural networks. You engage different parts of your brain. You see through the lens of expansion, not limitation. You begin to trust in the unseen. There, you start to feel the pull of a future that excites you more than the memories that have defined you. And that's when change begins to happen naturally, almost effortlessly. Some people wait for trauma to change. Others wait for crisis, loss, or disease. But you don't have to wait there. You can choose to evolve out of inspiration. You can make a decision to release the past, not because it didn't matter, but because your future matters more. You can decide right now that your emotions will no longer be handcuffs to the past, but be the fuel for the future. It starts with becoming aware. It deepens with choosing differently. And it solidifies when you teach your body what it feels like to live in a new emotional state before the evidence shows up. You rehearse the new future so often that your body no longer believes in the pain of the past. It believes in the joy of what's coming. And when your body aligns with your vision, the quantum field responds there. Because life isn't responding to what you want. It's responding to who you are being. And being is emotional. Being is energetic. Being is the frequency you hold, not when things go right, but when you decide to go right no matter what. There, when you stop waiting to feel better and instead choose to feel better, you are no longer the effect of your life. You become the cause. You become coherent. You become magnetic. And you become a living example of change. You say you want a different life. There, you say you're tired of the same routine, the same emotional roller coasters, the same invisible wall that keeps showing up between you and your dreams. And yet every morning you wake up and begin again exactly where you left off. You open your eyes and your first thoughts are automatic. The same schedule runs through your mind. The same people, the same problems, the same memories. You get out of bed on the same side, follow the same path to the bathroom, drink the same coffee, drive the same route, react to your spouse, your boss, your world in the exact same way as you did yesterday, and the day before that, and the month before that. You are no longer creating your life. You are reliving a life you've memorized. That's not evolution. That's repetition, and repetition, when unconscious, becomes a form of self-hypnosis. This is what we mean when we say you must break the habit of being yourself. Because that self, your being, isn't even really you. It's a construct, a personality built out of past experiences, old emotional patterns, limiting beliefs, and memorized behaviors. It's a set of automatic programs so deeply ingrained that you call it me. But it's not you. It's who you've practiced being. And the more you repeat those patterns, the more hardwired they become. You're firing and wiring the same circuits in your brain day after day until your thoughts become predictable. And those predictable thoughts lead to predictable feelings. And those feelings drive the same predictable behaviors. You're not thinking freely. You're reacting habitually. Now, here's the truth that most people never stop to consider. If your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, then to change your life, you have to change yourself. You can't create a new reality with the same mind that created the old one. You can't experience a new future while clinging to the emotional baggage of your past. You can't have a new outcome while being the same old you. But breaking that habit is not easy, because the moment you begin to change, your body starts to rebel. Why? There, because your body has become the unconscious mind. It knows how to be anxious. It knows how to be frustrated. It knows how to worry. And even when you intellectually decide to change, your body craves what's familiar. It wants the chemical rush of those old emotions. That's when the inner battle begins. You set the intention to think differently, to act differently, to feel differently, but your body is still addicted to being the old self. It says, who are you without your suffering? Who are you without your past? Who are you without your fear? And so you'll feel discomfort. You'll feel uncertainty. You'll feel like you're losing your identity. And in a way you are, because the old self, the self tied to lack, pain, resentment, control, that version of you cannot come into the future you've imagined. That version has to die there, and that death feels unfamiliar. But don't mistake the unfamiliar for wrong. The unknown is not your enemy, it's your portal. When you truly begin to dismantle the old self, you step into space between you've been and who you're becoming. It's uncomfortable, it's uncertain, but it's also sacred. It's the void, the gap, the field of all possibilities. Most people don't make it through this space. They get pulled back. The body pulls them back. The emotions pull them back. The habits pull them back. And before they even realize it, they're back to being the old self, wondering why nothing ever changes. But for those who stay, for those who commit, for those who surrender to the process and trust in the unseen, something extraordinary happens. They start to rewire their brain. They start to condition their body to a new mind. They start becoming conscious creators. This is where you begin to install new circuits in your brain, not through wishing, not through hoping, but through repetition and presence. You sit in stillness and you teach your body what it feels like to no longer be that old version of you. You notice the thoughts that don't belong to the new future and you let them go. You observe the emotions that drag you backward, and instead of indulging them, you breathe through them. And with every breath, every meditation, every act of awareness, you begin to prune away the neural networks tied to the past and fire new ones that align with your vision. Neuroscience tells us that neurons that fire together wire together. The more you practice being the future version of yourself through elevated thoughts, aligned emotions, and conscious choices, the more those new circuits become your new normal, and eventually thinking greater than you feel becomes who you are. That acting in alignment with your future becomes automatic. Feeling joy, love, abundance, inspiration, without needing anything outside of you to cause it, becomes second nature. That's when you've broken the habit of being yourself. That's when the personality begins to reflect a new personal reality. And here's the beauty. You don't need to do this perfectly. You just need to do it consistently. Each time you notice the old self trying to reassert itself, you have a choice, but return to what's known or move deeper into the unknown. And every time you choose the unknown, you're teaching your body that a new future is possible. You're no longer reacting. You're responding. You're no longer waiting. You're creating. And with each choice, each intention, each elevated emotion, you're broadcasting a new signal into the field. And the field, being intelligent, begins to mirror back experiences that match the energy of who you've become. This is how transformation happens, not through force, but through frequency. Not through control, but through coherence. When your inner world changes, your outer world reorganizes to reflect it. But that reorganization can only happen when you make a decision to no longer live by memory and instead live by vision. When you wake up in the morning and refuse to be defined by your past. When you catch yourself acting in the old familiar ways and choose differently. When you fall in love with the process more than the outcome. They're breaking the habit of being yourself, means stepping into a new reality where you're no longer the result of everything that's happened to you. You're the cause of everything that's becoming through you. There, once you taste that freedom, once you feel what it means to be the creator rather than the program, you'll never want to go back. There comes a moment when everything familiar starts to feel too small for the person you're becoming. The life you've known, the roles, the routines, the stories starts to feel like a cage, and something inside you begins to whisper there's more. More than what you've been told, more than what you've allowed, more than what you've dared to believe. But that whisper doesn't come with a map. It comes with uncertainty. And this is where most people turn back because the unknown is uncomfortable. It challenges your control. It pushes against your need for predictability. But what you must understand is this all true transformation happens when you step into the unknown. We are conditioned to believe that certainty is safety, that if we can predict what's coming, we can control our reality. So we build lives around what is known, familiar environments, familiar people, familiar emotions. And in doing so, we keep reliving the past, projecting it into the future. That we cling to routines not because they serve us, but because they make us feel in control. But nothing new is born in the predictable. Creation happens where there is possibility, not where there is proof. When you step into the unknown, you're stepping into a field of infinite potential. The quantum field doesn't operate on what's already happened. It responds to who you're being in the present moment. And in the present moment, you are free from your past, free from your identity, free from the emotions that have defined you. But that freedom comes with responsibility because now you are no longer reacting to life. You are no longer waiting for change. You are being the change. The unknown is a space of pure consciousness where your old self cannot follow. It's the edge of your comfort zone. And beyond that edge, your future is waiting. But to access it, you must let go of the need to know how, when, or in what form your vision will arrive. You must let go of the addiction to results. And that's not easy because the body wants certainty. It craves the chemical feedback loop of familiar emotions. It will tell you this is dangerous. It will try to pull you back into the known. And you will feel fear not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something unfamiliar. Fear is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're leaving the program, that you're breaking free from the limitations of who you've been. When the mind doesn't know what's next, it goes into overdrive, trying to analyze, predict, control. But in the quantum, analysis is the enemy of flow. The control is the enemy of surrender. You don't create the future by trying to manipulate it. You create the future by aligning with it, by becoming the person who already lives there. Think of it this way: your future already exists in the field as a vibrational pattern. It's waiting for you to match its frequency, not through effort, but through embodiment. If the future you desire is freedom, then you must begin to feel free now. If the future you is in love, you must begin to open your heart now. If the future you is abundant, you must begin to feel abundant now. You must rehearse the future in your inner world so powerfully that your brain and body believe it's already happening. That's when the field begins to reorganize matter in your favor. Not because you chased it, because you became it. But becoming requires stepping away from the familiar, from the predictable, from the identity that has kept you safe. The hardest part of change is not creating the new. It's letting go of the old, letting go of the stories that have defined you, letting go of the emotions you've memorized. They're letting go of the belief that your past equals your future. And in that letting go, something sacred happens. You become empty. And in that emptiness, you become available. The ego dissolves. The stories fade. And you connect with something greater. Call it intelligence. Call it consciousness. Call it the divine. But you feel it. And it feels like home. In that space, you begin to trust, not in your thoughts, not in your circumstances, but in the intelligence that breathes you. The same intelligence that grows flowers, spins galaxies, and beats your heart without your permission. You trust that when you show up as a new version of yourself again and again and again, that the field will respond. You don't chase the future, you invite it. You don't force outcomes, you align with them. You don't hustle for worth, you embody worthiness. And in doing so, life becomes less about effort and more about coherence. Less about strategy and more about surrender. You might ask, how do I know I'm stepping into the unknown? It's simple. You feel discomfort. You feel vulnerability. You feel like you're losing control. But you also feel possibility. You feel aliveness. You feel like you're on the edge of something extraordinary. That's the space where miracles happen. That's the space where synchronicities begin to unfold, where ideas flow. They're where you attract people and opportunities that reflect your new frequency. That's not luck. That's physics. That's resonance. But it requires faith, not blind faith in something outside of you, but embodied faith in something within you. The kind of faith that says, even if I don't know what's next, I trust who I'm becoming. The kind of faith that says, even if I feel fear, I choose to move forward. Because every time you step into the unknown and don't turn back, you teach your body a new truth that it is safe to change, that it is safe to evolve, that it is safe to receive. And over time, the unknown becomes familiar. You start to crave it. You realize that the real safety isn't in the known. It's in your ability to adapt. It's in your connection to the intelligence that is guiding you. And from that place, you begin to live as a creator, not a victim, not a reactor. Creator, someone who is no longer defined by their history, but pulled by their destiny. Someone who wakes up every day and says, who do I want to be today? What energy do I want to broadcast? What future do I want to step into? And then lives as if that future is already real, because in truth, it already is. That's the power of stepping into the unknown. You stop living from the memory of your past, and you start living from the vision of your future. There, you stop responding to your environment, and you start influencing it. You stop waiting for change, and you become the change. That's when life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. There is an invisible field surrounding you right now. It is not separate from you. It is you. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold is not staying inside your body. It is broadcasting out into that field. Like a radio tower, your body is constantly emitting information, and that information has a frequency. That frequency is the sum total of your energy, and that energy is your life. Because the field around you doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are being. Now, most people live their entire lives unconscious of this field. They think their thoughts are private. They believe their feelings are just personal reactions to the world. But the truth is, your internal state is creating a measurable impact on the space around you. Your energy is either coherent or incoherent. It's either drawing things to you or pushing them away. And that energy, that electromagnetic signature you're sending out every second, is your true order form to the universe. It is the blueprint your future is being built from. When you are in survival mode, stressed, anxious, resentful, afraid, you're emitting a very chaotic, disordered signal. There, your thoughts are fragmented, your heart is closed, your field is incoherent. And in that state, no amount of effort or strategy will lead to meaningful creation. You can work harder, try more, push yourself, yet it feels like you're swimming upstream. That's not because life is against you there. It's because your energy is misaligned with your desired outcome. On the other hand, when your brain and your heart are in harmony, something miraculous happens. Your field becomes coherent. Your thoughts are clear. Your emotions are elevated. You move from being fragmented to being integrated. And the field, this intelligent, unifying field of possibility, begins to reflect your internal state with precision. That's not magic. That's electromagnetism. That's biology. That's the science of being a conscious creator. So let's look deeper. Your brain emits electrical signals. These signals form waves beta, alpha, theta, delta, and gamma. Each wave reflects a different level of consciousness. Most people live in high beta brainwave state, stressed, reactive, analytical. But creation doesn't happen there. Creation happens when you slow down, when your brain drops into alpha and theta, when you disconnect from the outer world and connect to your inner world. In those slower brainwave states, your conscious mind moves aside and your subconscious becomes open. That's where change takes root. That's where new programs are installed. That's where the field begins to take notice. And then there's your heart. The heart is not just a pump. It's an electrical organ, and it generates a magnetic field thousands of times stronger than the brain. There, when you feel elevated emotions, gratitude, love, inspiration, compassion, you begin to create coherence between the brain and the heart. You're no longer just thinking, you're feeling. You're no longer just imagining, you're becoming. That emotional energy is the magnet. It pulls your future toward you, and the stronger the emotion, the more powerful the signal. But here's the key. Most people wait for something outside of them to change how they feel inside. They wait for the promotion to feel abundant. They wait for the relationship to feel love. They wait for healing to feel whole. And by doing so, they stay trapped in a feedback loop. Their external reality dictates their internal state. And yet, the secret to true change is reversing that loop. It's choosing to feel abundant before the money comes. It's choosing to feel love before the partner arrives. It's choosing to feel joy before the success shows up. That's how you shift from victim to creator. You teach your body to feel the future. You condition it to believe in a reality not yet manifested. And you do it so often, so consistently, that your body no longer knows the difference between the inner experience and the outer event. At that point, you become a magnet, a true magnet, not because you're forcing outcomes, but because you're living in alignment with the energy of your future. The field starts responding in kind. You begin to notice synchronicities. You meet the right people. Opportunities begin to appear. Not because you got lucky, but because you became coherent. Think of coherence as the alignment of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. When those three are in agreement, your energy becomes focused. You're no longer leaking power. You're no longer sabotaging your intentions with self-doubt or emotional contradiction. You're congruent. And that congruence radiates out into the field like a laser beam, signaling your readiness to receive. And coherence isn't something mystical. It's measurable. We can see it in heart rate variability. We can see it in EEG brain scans. We can see it in the transformation of people who've moved from chronic pain, illness, trauma, and found healing not by changing the world around them, but by changing the signal they were sending into the field. Now, sustaining coherence is a practice. You don't do it once and expect life to change overnight. You do it again and again until it becomes your new baseline. There, you meditate not to escape life, but to rehearse your future. You sit in stillness and breathe through resistance. You open your heart when it wants to close. You generate gratitude when it would be easier to complain. And each time you do that, you're reprogramming your energy field. There, you're casting a new signal into the quantum, and you're telling life, this is who I am now. Eventually, your body begins to crave that elevated state. It remembers what it feels like to be whole, to be joyful, to be free. And it starts aligning with that energy automatically. That's when you know transformation has moved from conscious effort to subconscious embodiment. That's when your electromagnetic field is not just a reflection of your practice. It is your practice. You're living from it. You're leading with it. There, you walk into a room and people feel something different. They don't know what it is, but it's real because energy doesn't lie. And when you live from that place, when your electromagnetic field becomes a coherent, elevated expression of your future, you no longer chase life. Life comes to you. You don't force results, you allow them. You don't try to fix the past, you simply outgrow it. Because your energy no longer belongs to the version of you that lived in fear or lack or unworthiness. Your energy belongs to the future you've already rehearsed. There, the future you've already felt. The future you've already become. And that's when miracles aren't miracles anymore. They're just evidence of a coherent life. There is a version of you already living the life you desire. It exists in the quantum field, not years away. Not after you solve everything, but right now in the present moment. That version of you is not waiting for change, not hoping things will get better someday. That version of you has already become the person you are trying to become. So the question is, if that future already exists energetically, how do you align with it? How do you pull that version of you out of possibility and into reality? The answer is simple, but not easy. You must live as if it's already done. You must become the person you want to be there before your external world reflects it, not after. That's the great reversal of the old model of change. The old self waits for evidence. I'll feel abundant when I have more money. I'll feel healthy when the diagnosis disappears. I'll feel love when someone gives it to me. But that way of living only reinforces lack. It's saying, I need something outside of me to change how I feel inside. And as long as you're waiting for the world to change before you change, you're living as a victim of your reality, not a creator. Of living as if it's already done means you stop looking for signs that your future is coming. You stop checking the bank account to see if abundance is here yet. You stop watching the clock to see when the person will arrive there or when the breakthrough will happen. Because when you live from the energy of your future instead of the memory of your past, you're no longer hoping, you're being. And being is the language the field understands. The field doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your energy, your coherence, your inner alignment with the outcome you desire. This means that if you want to experience a new life, you must first emotionally and mentally rehearse it. You have to feel the feelings of your future more than the feelings of your past. The body, which has been conditioned to live in fear, worry, guilt, and unworthiness, must be reconditioned to feel joy, gratitude, freedom, and love. And not just once, not just when things are going well, but every single day until those emotions become more familiar than the ones tied to your suffering. When you wake up in the morning and you begin your day with intention, when you take a few moments to close your eyes, open your heart and imagine who you want to be, how you want to think, how you want to act, how you want to feel. You are programming your biology. You are instructing your nervous system to embody a new future. And if you do that long enough, your body begins to believe it's already happening. The line between the inner world and the outer world begins to blur. And the body, which has been living in the past, begins to live in the future. But here's what most people don't realize. If you do this correctly, you won't feel like you're waiting anymore. You'll feel like you already have it. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience in your environment and one you vividly imagine. If you can truly feel abundant now, if you can truly feel free now, if you can fully embody love now, you've moved into a new state of being there. And once you're being that person emotionally, mentally, energetically, you've become a vibrational match to your future. The quantum field will begin to respond to that. You don't have to go out and chase your dreams. You draw them to you, not by wishing, not by wanting, but by being there. You begin to walk through your day as if it's already yours, not in arrogance or delusion, but in calm certainty. You speak with conviction. You take action with trust. You treat others with the kindness and presence that the future version of you would. You're no longer rehearsing your past. There, you're rehearsing your destiny. Of course, the old self will try to pull you back. It will say, who are you to feel successful when your reality doesn't show it? Who are you to feel healthy when your body still hurts? Who are you to feel love when you're still alone? That voice is the past. That voice is your familiar identity trying to survive. But if you listen closely, you'll realize it has no power unless you believe it. You have the ability to override it, not through willpower, but through presence. Every time you choose to stay in the energy of your future, despite what your senses show you, you're rewiring your brain. You're reconditioning your body. You're realigning your energy with what's possible instead of what's predictable. Eventually, something amazing happens. There, you wake up one day and you no longer feel like the old you. The emotions that used to define you, resentment, fear, guilt, feel foreign. You notice that you're reacting less and creating more. You're no longer obsessed with the outcome because you know it's coming. There, you've become the person who deserves it, who attracts it, who lives in alignment with it. And then, almost without effort, your outer world begins to rearrange itself. The job opportunity appears. The relationship flows in. The diagnosis improves. The synchronicities accelerate. They're not because you forced it, but because you became the energetic match to your new life. This is not positive thinking. This is biological, neurological, and electromagnetic transformation. This is quantum physics meeting ancient wisdom. It is about remembering that your inner world creates your outer world, not the other way around. Every time you choose to live as if it's already done, you are collapsing time. You are bringing your future into the now. You are stepping into the life that has always been waiting for you. They're just beyond the veil of your current identity. Living as if it's already done is not about pretending. It's about remembering who you really are before the world told you who to be. It's about stripping away the layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning and choosing to embody the version of you that has always existed in pure potential. That version is wise. That version is whole. That version is already connected to the solution, the love, the path, the power. So don't wait. Don't wait for the money, the person, the healing, the validation. Begin now. Decide who you want to be and become it before the evidence shows up. Feel it before it arrives. Trust it before you can prove it. That's how you create a new destiny. That's how you move from survival into creation, from matter into energy, from hoping into knowing. The moment you become your future becomes inevitable because the field doesn't respond to who you were. It responds to who you are now. And now is the only moment that matters. You don't need permission to change. You don't need the world to shift before you do. There, you were born with the power to shape reality. Don't waste it. Stop waiting for the world to change. Be the change. Become the new future, live from the energy of what's coming, not what's been. Because the moment you change, everything around you begins to respond. So now I ask you, are you ready to stop waiting? Are you ready to be the change? If you're ready to stop waiting and start creating, type IAMT Kanji in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to hear this truth. Like, subscribe, and let us know what part of this message awakens something in you. Let's create the future together.